picture this. You are, you're excellent at your job.
Yeah.
I mean, objectively excellent, right?
You know your stuff.
Exactly. Your spreadsheets are flawless. Your peers respect you. Your direct manager totally relies on you to just keep the engine running.
Yeah, you are the go-to person.
You are. But then, you find yourself sitting in a conference room, or maybe you're just staring at a grid of faces on a video call, and a VP or someone from the C-suite turns directly to you.
Oh, man. The temperature in the room just instantly drops.
It really does. You can physically feel the shift in attention.
Yeah.
And the room goes quiet. And they ask this incredibly simple, direct question. Something like, what is your honest assessment of where this client situation stands?
And you freeze.
You completely freeze. I mean, the silence stretches for maybe a microsecond, but in your head, it feels like an actual hour. And instead of delivering this brilliant, nuanced analysis that you literally just prepared 10 minutes ago, you just shrink.
Yeah, you physically make yourself smaller in your chair.
Right, and you start over-explaining. You bury your actual valuable insights under this massive mountain of qualifications and apologies. It's painful.
It's so painful, but it is incredibly common.
Which is exactly why we're spending today's deep dive unpacking this. We're looking at a fantastic stack of sources today, some behavioral psychology research, management studies, and specifically we're pulling a lot from a program called Sharp English, specifically their Episode 9 script.
Which has some amazing insights on this exact scenario.
Totally. They call this phenomenon the Intern Trap. So our mission today is to figure out why we do this, and more importantly, we're going to look at the exact phrases, like word for word, that you can use to hold your ground and sound like a leader when the stakes are highest.
Because the stakes are usually much higher than we realize in that moment. I mean, when a senior leader asks you a direct question like, what is your honest assessment? They are very rarely just testing your knowledge of the facts.
Wait, they aren't?
Not usually, no. They usually already have a pretty good grasp on the facts. What they are actually doing in that moment is testing your character.
Oh, wow. That's intense.
It is. They want to see if you are someone they can trust with direct, unfiltered, and sometimes really ugly information. They're looking around the room for a peer in the making. Someone who can handle the weight of the reality on the ground without just crumbling.
Okay, so to fix this instinct to crumble, we probably need to look at what it sounds like when we, sabotage ourselves in real time.
Yes, let's look at the crime scene.
Right, exactly. So there's this one example from the Sharp English sources. It's this completely panicked defensive sentence that perfectly captures this hedging behavior. Let me read it. It goes, I'm not sure if this is right, but I think maybe the client might be a little frustrated.
Oh, hearing that out loud, it takes so much energy just to process a sentence like that.
It's exhausting. Let's actually count the hedges in there.
Go for it.
Okay, 1, I'm not sure. 2, if this is right. 3, I think. 4, maybe. And you even threw in a might be in there.
It's a disaster.
It really is. You are offering like 4 or 5 distinct linguistic apologies before you even get to the actual point. It's like handing someone a locked safe, right?
Right.
And while you're handing it over, you are profusely apologizing in advance that there might be absolutely nothing inside.
Yes. The executive hasn't even opened it yet.
Exactly. They haven't opened it, and you're already telling them it's completely worthless. So why do incredibly smart, high-performing professionals suddenly regress and hand over the empty safe the second a VP enters the room?
Well, the primal instinct here is just self-protection. It's basic biology. When a very senior person focuses their attention on you, your fight or flight response just kicks right in.
But you can't run out of the conference room.
No, you can't. And you obviously can't fight the VP.
Right. Highly frowned upon.
Exactly. So you freeze. And you try to make your answer so small, so heavily padded with uncertainty that it cannot possibly be wrong.
Ah, I see.
Think about it. If you say, maybe they might be frustrated, nobody can ever pull up a transcript later and accuse you of making a false claim. You've completely protected yourself from being incorrect.
Right, because you didn't really say anything at all.
Exactly. But the sources highlight this massive, really vital distinction we have to make here. There is a world of difference between being accurate and being cautious.
I always just assumed those were basically the same thing in a corporate setting. Like, if I'm cautious, I'm ensuring my accuracy, right?
A lot of people think that. They get tangled up in our minds.
Yeah.
But in practice, they're practically opposites.
Really? How so?
Well, accuracy is entirely about the content. It's about delivering the truth of the situation, even if it's incomplete, as clearly as possible. Caution, on the other hand, is entirely about protecting your ego.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's about shielding your status from the potential of being wrong. And the harsh reality is that senior people, they can smell caution instantly.
They can just sense it.
They absolutely can. When you spend 20 seconds padding your answer about the client being frustrated, the VP doesn't sit there thinking, wow, this person is wonderfully precise and careful.
Right, they aren't impressed.
Not at all. They think, this person lacks conviction. They don't even trust their own work, so why on earth should I trust it?
Okay, but wait, I have to play devil's advocate here. I'd actually be terrified to just bluntly state my opinion if I don't have all the hard data to back it up.
Sure, that's a natural fear.
I mean, if I drop the caution and state something clearly, doesn't that make me fully liable if my assessment turns out to be completely wrong down the line?
And that right there is the exact fear that keeps people trapped in junior phrasing. But here's the thing. Stepping out of caution doesn't mean you start guessing wildly
Yeah.
or stating assumptions as undeniable facts. It just means swapping out that defensive, emotional language for language that owns the perspective you've built so far.
Which brings us perfectly to the first tactical shift from our Sharp English episode 9 sources. We are tossing out that hedge disaster, and we are replacing it with a very specific phrase.
Yes, the game changer.
The phrase is, my read on this is, so instead of, I'm not sure if this is right, but I think the client is frustrated, you just look at them and say, my read on this is that the client is frustrated.
It's so clean.
Mm-hmm.
And the word read is doing an incredible amount of heavy lifting in that sentence. Let's look at the linguistics of it for a second.
Yeah, let's unpack that.
When you say I think or I feel, you are operating internally, right? You're talking about your own emotions or your own gut instinct. It's entirely subjective.
Right, it's about me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But when you say my read, you shift the entire framing to be external and analytical.
Huh?
You are signaling to the room that you have surveyed the data, you've assessed the variables, and you have synthesized a perspective based on the actual evidence available.
You aren't just guessing.
Right. You have done the work to form a view. A read isn't a guarantee that you can predict the future perfectly. It's an educated hypothesis. And honestly, VPs run their entire businesses on educated hypotheses.
That makes a ton of sense. It changes the posture from like, please don't be mad if I'm wrong, to here's my professional analysis.
Exactly. It's a subtle shift, but a massive one in terms of authority.
But, okay, what happens when you genuinely do not have the answer? Say the VP asks for a specific metric on that client account, and you just flat out don't know it.
Right, the dreaded knowledge gap.
Yeah. Saying, my read on this is, implies you have enough data to actually form a read. If you're completely missing a key variable, my immediate reflex is to stumble. Or use that classic stall tactic, you know?
Oh, that's a great question. I'll have to look into it.
I'll look into it. It is a conversational black hole.
Oh, I've definitely used it to buy time, though.
We all have, but it doesn't give the executive anything to hold on to. Right. But the sources suggest a much stronger way to manage the unknown. Instead of saying, you'll look into it, you say, my current view is, and I'll confirm the detail by end of day.
Notice how that functions on a psychological level for the person listening to you. You are delivering an answer and a commitment in the exact same breath.
Yeah.
Saying, my current view is, tells them you are a professional who constantly forms baseline assessments, even with partial information. But the second half, that is the crucial mechanism.
And I'll confirm the detail by end of day. It sets a ticking clock.
Exactly. It creates a definitive boundary around the unknown. Think about it. I'll look into it. Has no deadline whatsoever.
It's just floating out there.
And for an executive, that means they have to expend their own cognitive energy, remembering to follow up with you tomorrow or next week, just to get the answer.
And they do not want to do that.
No. By end of day is a specific promise. It proves intellectual honesty. You are basically looking them in the eye and saying, here are the exact limits of my knowledge right now, and here the precise hour those limits will be erased.
Wow. An executive can actually work with that.
They absolutely can. They can schedule their own decision-making around that ticking clock. What they cannot work with is, I'm not sure.
Right. And there's a variation of this I pulled from the notes that feels just as useful. It's about leading with your strongest card.
Oh, I love this one.
Yeah. So when you only know half the answer, instead of leading with an apology for what you don't know, you lead with certainty.
Yes.
You say, what I can tell you with confidence is, so for example, if they ask about a project status, you say, what I can tell you with confidence is that the design team signed off. The engineering timeline I will confirm by end of day.
It's brilliant.
You're handing them a solid brick they can actually build with right now, rather than just handing them a handful of sand.
Which means you are actively controlling the narrative of your own expertise. You anchor their perception in your competence, and you handle your knowledge deficit like a routine logistical task, not some kind of personal failing.
Okay, handling a status update with confidence is a great baseline. But disagreeing with a senior leader or telling them what they should do next, that requires a totally different level of nerve.
It really does. It's the ultimate test.
Because we've all been in that terrifying scenario where a VP presents a plan, and, factually, that it has a massive blind spot.
Right.
But if you say, I disagree, you sound insubordinate or combative.
And if you say nothing, you aren't actually doing your job to protect the company.
Exactly. So the recommended phrase here from Sharp English for constructive pushback is, I want to make sure we've thought through.
Yes, I want to make sure we've thought through the client-side implications of that timeline. It completely reframes a direct conflict into a shared exploration.
Okay, I'm going to push back on the sources a bit here, though.
Go for it.
What if the VP is the type of leader who absolutely hates being challenged? I mean, we all know them.
Oh, absolutely.
The leaders whose egos are incredibly fragile, who just want a room full of people nodding yes, and who take any alternative perspective as a personal slight.
The yes men culture.
Right. If I say, I want to make sure we've thought through to that kind of personality, aren't they still going to bristle? Because, I'm essentially saying you didn't think this through.
That is a very fair point. In a highly political or ego-driven culture, yes, even that gentle phrasing can sometimes trigger a defensive response.
So what do we do?
Well, if you know you are dealing with a highly reactive leader, the underlying principle of pointing out the flaw remains exactly the same, but you have to flex the register. You essentially disguise the pushback entirely.
Disguise it how?
You reframe the disagreement as a clarifying question.
Okay, give me an example of how that actually sounds in the room.
So instead of stating the blind spot as a consideration for the group, you frame it as an attempt on your part to understand their strategy. You say, I want to make sure I understand the thinking here. Is the assumption that the client has capacity to handle this by Q3.
Oh, wow. That is incredibly tactical.
Right. You are still taking the massive flaw in their plan and placing it right in the center of the conference table for everyone to look at.
Yeah.
But you've disguised the challenge as an act of extreme diligence. You make it look like you are just trying to keep up with their brilliant vision.
And if their assumption is wrong, the gap in logic becomes glaringly visible to everyone in the room anyway.
Exactly. But you haven't pointed a finger at the VP. You've just asked for clarity on how the mechanics are going to work.
That's genius. The idea survives, the problem gets addressed, but you don't take the collateral damage of being labeled the negative person in the room.
It's a career saver.
That's huge. Now, this anxiety about pushback, it doesn't just happen when we disagree. It also happens when we are explicitly asked to make a recommendation. The sources highlight this fascinating McKinsey research on a concept called solution dilution.
Oh, the solution dilution.
Yeah.
It is everywhere. It's essentially what happens when mid-level professionals take a perfectly valid, highly intelligent recommendation and they soften it with so many qualifiers that the recommendation literally evaporates before it even reaches the decision maker.
We do this constantly. A VP asks what we should do about a failing vendor, and instead of giving a direct answer, we say, well, one option might be to consider possibly pushing the deadline back, if everyone is okay with that.
Exactly. And let's look at how McKinsey actually tested this, because the mechanics of the study explain exactly why VPs react so poorly to that kind of phrasing.
Yeah, break that down for us.
So researchers presented executives with identical business cases. Group A received a brief with clear, definitive recommendations. Group B received the exact same data, but the recommendations were heavily padded with those cautious qualifiers we just talked about. Words like might, possibly, and consider.
Okay, I would assume the executives thought Group B was just being more thorough, or playing it safe.
That's what Group B thought too, but not at all. The executives didn't rate the Group B employees as careful. They rated them as untrustworthy.
Untrustworthy.
Just because they used the word might.
Yes, because when you present 5 diluted options, heavily padded with maybe, you aren't actually advising the executive. You are forcing them to synthesize the data, weigh the risk, and make the call entirely on their own.
Yeah.
You are making them do your job. Junior professionals describe situations and offer menus of possibilities. Senior professionals recommend actions and take on the burden of the decision. Wow. Okay, so to stop forcing the executive to do our jobs, we banish phrases like, one option might be to consider, and we replace it with the definitive. My recommendation is action, and here is the reason.
The structure there is non-negotiable. Action followed immediately by logic.
Right.
My recommendation is we delay the launch by 2 weeks, and the reason is it protects our Q3 compliance metrics. A VP can process and respond to that in 10 seconds flat.
And they might agree or they might completely disagree, but you have handed them a concrete structural proposal to react to.
Exactly. It signals that you're willing to own your part of the outcome.
But this anxiety, this deep fear of owning the outcome, it doesn't just cause us to dilute our recommendations, it also causes us to bury them, which brings us to the structure of how we give general updates.
Yes. The update ramble.
It's so real. When a senior leader asks for an update, the immediate instinct is to show them your math. You want to prove you've been working hard, so you start from the very beginning of the timeline, you give all the background context, you describe your entire methodology, and finally, like 5 minutes later, you arrive at the actual point.
Right. We over-explain to soothe our own anxiety, and it is entirely at the expense of the executive's cognitive bandwidth.
Yeah.
Think about a VP's day. They are likely sitting in 8 hours of back-to-back meetings. They are making dozens of high-stakes decisions every single day. Their decision-making battery is completely depleted by noon.
So true.
Processing a 5-minute preamble about how you arrived at a conclusion is physically exhausting for them.
Which is exactly why we need to use this phrase. The short version is, if you want more detail, I have it.
That phrase is magic. It executes what communicators call the inverted pyramid.
Like in journalism, right?
It's exactly like journalism. In journalism, you put the most crucial conclusion-level information at the very top of the story, and the supporting context goes at the bottom. When you use this phrase, you are delivering the conclusion first.
Right. The short version is, the project is on track, but we have one budget risk. If you want more detail on the risk, I have it.
It's so efficient.
You're making the supporting details optional. And that aligns perfectly with how a depleted executive brain operates. They just want the headline so they can categorize the risk.
Yes, and if they actually need your methodology, they will ask for it. But by saying, if you want more detail, I have it, you signal that you are fully prepared and highly competent without holding them hostage to a monologue.
You're respecting their time.
It demonstrates a profound respect for their time. And when you respect their time, you inherently earn their respect for your competence.
Okay, so while we're stripping away the excess, there are 2 specific phrases from the source material that you, the listener, need to banish from your vocabulary immediately.
Let's hear them.
Number 1, I just wanted to
Oh, I hear this one all the time. I just wanted to quickly check in, or I just wanted to quickly flag this.
What's wrong with it? It sounds polite.
It functions as a preemptive apology. The word just physically shrinks your presence in the conversation and quickly signals that you already believe you are taking up too much of their valuable time, even before you've made your point.
Wow.
You are basically apologizing for your own existence in the room.
Don't apologize for taking up space. If you want to be efficient, just be efficient with your words. Don't announce that you're going to be quick, just deliver the information.
Exactly, just do it.
Okay, the second banned phrase is even more insidious, I think. Does that make sense?
Oh, it is incredibly common, and it is quietly destructive to your authority.
Wait, really? I feel like I say that all the time just to be helpful.
A lot of people do.
Yeah.
But when you finish explaining a complex topic to a VP and you ask, does that make sense?
Yeah.
You are unconsciously reversing the power dynamic in the room.
How does checking for understanding reverse the power dynamic?
Think about who usually asks that exact question. It is the tone of a teacher checking in on a struggling student.
Oh my gosh, you're right.
You are essentially asking the executive to confirm that they possess the cognitive ability to follow your explanation. Even if your intention is just to be helpful and ensure clarity, it can sound deeply patronizing to someone in a senior position.
I never thought of it as a subtle intelligence test, but it really does put the listener on the defensive.
It really does.
So to fix it, the sources say you replace it with, I'm happy to go into more detail on any part of that.
Exactly. That phrasing keeps you firmly in the position of the generous expert. You are offering your deep knowledge as an available resource rather than testing their comprehension.
That's such a better vibe.
It leaves the control of the conversation exactly where it should be, with them choosing how deep they want to dive in.
Okay, finally, let's talk about closing the loop. You've given the update, you've used your power phrases, and the meeting is wrapping up. My default for years used to be ending with, I hope that was helpful.
Which completely undermines all the authority you've just spent the last 10 minutes building.
Really? It sounds so nice, though.
It sounds nice, but I hope that was helpful puts you in a subordinate position, waiting to be assessed by a superior. It sounds like you were begging for a grade.
Did I do a good job? Are you proud of me?
Yes, exactly that.
Ugh, it's awful once you realize what it implies. So instead of pleading for validation, the sharp English sources suggest leaving the door open with this. Let me know if there's anything else useful I can pull together.
It positions you as a capable, proactive resource. You are a peer offering further value. You are leaving the door open for future collaboration, sure, but you are doing it from a position of competence and readiness, not a position of hope.
If we step back and look at everything we've pulled from these sources today, from swapping, I think, for my read on this is, to replacing solution dilution with, my recommendation is, to utilizing the inverted pyramid.
Yeah.
The overarching theme here is a fundamental shift in professional identity.
It really is a complete mindset shift.
Using these phrases shifts you from merely surviving a room with senior leaders, hoping you don't say the wrong thing, to actively showing up and being genuinely useful. You stop acting like the intern waiting for instructions, and you start acting like the professional driving the outcome.
You transition from being a liability that needs to be managed by the executive to an asset that can be aggressively deployed.
So here's our practical challenge for you, the listener. In your very next meeting, and it doesn't even have to be with a VP, it could just be a standard team sync find that moment where your biological instinct screams at you to hedge.
It will happen.
Oh, it will. When you desperately want to say, I'm not sure if this is right, but I think, catch yourself, just stop, and replace it with, my read on this is, and when a decision needs to be made, don't float a diluted menu of options. Try using, my recommendation is this action plus this reason, and just watch how the room responds to you. Watch how much faster the conversation moves forward.
And as you experiment with these phrases, I'd leave you with this to consider. Think about why corporate environments naturally condition us to speak defensively from day one.
It's systemic, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
We learn to hedge because early in our careers, we are taught that making a mistake is fatal. But cognitive psychology tells us that language doesn't just describe our reality, it actually dictates it.
That's so powerful.
By shedding these linguistic defense mechanisms, you aren't just changing how VPs and C-suite leaders perceive you, you are actively rewiring how you perceive your own professional worth. When you stop speaking like someone who is afraid of being fired, you start thinking like someone who deserves to lead.
You stop apologizing for what might be missing, you just hand over the safe, you look them in the eye, and you let them see all the value you've locked inside.